With that, another important story that we also want to bring you, the International Monetary Fund has trimmed its global growth forecast and also slashed the GDP outlook for India, warning of high uncertainty and a larger risk of a hard landing, especially for developed economies. Now, while it has cut India's growth forecast sharply in its latest World Economic Outlook report, so this is down to 5.9% for this year, it sees global growth bottoming at 2.8%. This is for 2023, before seeing a modest recovery in the next year, so in 2024. Ritu Singh is here with all of the highlights from this report. Ritu.
The IMF has handed a sharp cut to India's growth forecast in its latest World Economic Outlook report, both for the current and the next fiscal. For FY24, IMF has forecast India's growth rate at 5.9%, which is 20 basis points lower compared to the January forecast and much lower than RBI's estimate of 6.5%. Thereafter, India's growth is seen picking up to 6.3% in FY25, but this too is about 50 basis points lower compared to the previous forecast. The fund estimates that India's inflation is going to average 4.9% in this fiscal and 4.4% in the next, which is a tad more optimistic than RBI's projections. On the global front, IMF says prospects for growth now seem dimmer than in decades, and any tentative signs in early this year that the world economy could achieve a soft landing have receded amid stubbornly high inflation and the recent financial sector turmoil. IMF's baseline forecast, which assumes that the financial sector stresses are contained, is for global growth to fall from 3.4% last year to 2.8% this year, before rising slowly and settling at 3% 5 years out, which is the lowest medium-term forecast in decades. In fact, the risk of global growth falling below 2% this year, a low growth outcome which has only happened 5 times since 1970, remains elevated at about 25% chances. Now, IMF warns uncertainty is high and a hard landing, especially for advanced economies, has become a much larger risk. Many economies are likely to experience slower growth in incomes this year, and the world economy is not currently expected to return over the medium term to the rate of growth which prevailed before the pandemic. A quick word on inflation as well, which is high but starting to decline. The baseline forecast is for global headline inflation to fall from 8.7% last year to 7% this year and 4.9% by 2024.
All right, Ritu, thanks a lot for taking us through all of the highlights of IMF's latest report on the global growth picture, as well as on India's cut as well. But with that,